If you're retiring to Florida or relocating here and you're considering buying a land lease in that community, pause. Because thousands of Florida residents own their homes, but do not own the land beneath them. And that single detail changes who holds the power in the deal. When someone else owns the dirt, they control the leverage. I'm not trying to push fear. This is about structure, and structure determines outcome. Today, we're going to model this properly. Not emotionally, not politically, structurally. We'll break down ownership hierarchy, how land lease contracts actually work, 5, 10, 15-year escalation math, real retiree-style scenarios, corporate land ownership and their incentives, financing realities, resale friction, default mechanics, appreciation differences, redevelopment pressures, general wealth impact, behavioral traps, and who this model works for and who it doesn't. If you value structural clarity instead of marketing language, please subscribe. Let's start with hierarchy. Most people compare 3 ownership types as if they're equal. Fee simple condo, land lease. They are not equal. Let's rank leverage. Fee simple ownership. You own your own house, you own the land, the dirt is yours. No one charges you rent on something you already own. In Florida, especially near water and high migration corridors, land is scarce and finite. The structure ages. The land increases in scarcity. Scarcity drives long-term value. And in Florida, land is the asset. That's what appreciates. Not the cabinets, not the flooring, not the paint. Land. Now, condos. You own the interior of your unit. You share ownership of the exterior and land. You pay HOA fees. You may face special assessments, but you hold deeded ownership interest. You are not leasing the land from a separate corporate landlord. Now, a land lease, you own the structure, you lease the land. You sign a contract governing monthly land rent, escalation structure, renewal terms, transfer rules, late penalties, default procedures. Even if you pay cash for structure, you are still a tenant of the land owner. Owning a home without owning the land is building your future on rented soil. You can remodel the kitchen. You can replace the flooring, but you cannot control the soil. And whoever controls the soil controls the long-term leverage. There is also a psychological layer here. When someone says, "I own my home," that statement feels secure, stable. But ownership is layered. You can own the structure and still lease the foundation beneath it. Retirement planning depends on predictability, and predictability requires control over fixed costs. If someone else controls your largest fixed cost escalation, you are exposed to their incentives. Excuse me. This model didn't happen by accident. In Palm Beach County, waterfront land is extremely limited. In Broward County, development pressure is real. On the Gulf Coast, coastal parcels are finite. Developers realized they could, long ago, sell the structures, retain the land, collect reoccurring rent, and later sell the land portfolio as income producing asset. From a corporate standpoint, reoccurring revenue is powerful. Escalating reoccurring revenue is more powerful, but incentives matter. A corporate landowner's obligation is to investors or shareholders. Their objective is yield. Yield improves when rent increases, expenses are minimized, portfolio valuations rise, residents see community, corporations see return on capital. That difference is perspective, is structural. Yeah. So let's model the math calmly. Land rent, $1,000 per month. 3% annual increase if you're lucky. Year 1, $1,000. Year 5, approximately $1,125. Year 10, approximately $1,344. Approximately $1,558. Over 15 years, that exceeds $200,000 paid in land rent. That did not build your equity. It built landowner revenue. What if insurance premiums rise faster than 3%? What if land rent resets at renewal? What if inflation remains elevated? Compounding works in both directions. It builds wealth in assets you own. It builds cost pressure in obligations you lease. Now imagine a retiree moves here at 68. By 83, the land rent is materially higher. Income likely did not grow profitably. The gap creates vulnerability. Now stack land rent, HOA fees, insurance, premiums, property taxes on the structure, utilities. Monthly obligations can rival traditional mortgage payments. But psychologically, buyers think, I don't have a mortgage. That framing can create false security. Yeah. But many land lease homes, especially manufactured housing, do not even qualify for traditional 30-year conventional mortgages. They may require chattel loans, higher interest rates, shorter amortization periods. That means higher monthly payments, less favorable lending pools, reduced resale liquidity. Liquidity equals leverage. We can't go around that. And limited financing options reduce that liquidity. So scenario A, cash retiree. Sold a northern home, paid cash, feels safe. 5 years later, escalating land rent, insurance spike, unexpected medical expense. Lease defines cure period, payment missed, legal process begins. Owning the structure does not override the lease obligations. Scenario B, relocator moves to Sarasota lifestyle, plans to sell in 10 years. But resale demand softens because buyers calculate forward. Rising land rent reduces perceived value. Appreciation is limited. Exit flexibility is constrained. Scenario C, investor buys expecting rental yield. Lease restricts rentals or escalating land rent compresses margins. The corporate model favors the landowner first. The investor absorbs volatility. In high demand counties like Broward, Palm Beach, the values can accelerate rapidly. If redevelopment potential increases, higher density, mixed use repositioning, the incentive landscape shifts. Residents may fill long term. Landowners evaluate return on capital. Lease agreements govern what happens next. But residents rarely control long-term zoning decisions. Land ownership equals strategic control. Land lease agreements, let's define them. Payment obligations, notice timelines, cure periods, default procedures. Owning the structure does not eliminate lease obligations. And lease contracts often favor landowners. That is structural leverage, not emotional leverage. Structural leverage matters. In fee simple ownership, land scarcity drives appreciation. In land lease, appreciation, primarily the structure, condition, and community, is the demand. Structure's depreciation is faster than the land, especially manufactured housing. Different wealth building trajectory that you can't go around that. It's not automatically bad though, but fundamentally different. And that's the difference that we need to understand. In fee simple ownership, land can be passed down. It becomes generational leverage. In land lease models, the appreciating asset is not yours to transfer. The structure may appreciate faster than the land appreciates. That alters the whole wealth dynamic. So here's the behavioral traps. Lower purchase price creates emotional relief. Buyers anchor to upfront costs. They compare down payment, not lifetime exposure. But lifetime financial exposure is determined over decades, not at closing. Compounding exposure is invisible in year one, and risk often feels manageable until it isn't. Short time horizon, strong liquidity reserves, lifestyle first decisions, clear understanding of escalation math, but retirees with most capital tied to one structure must be very conservative. Flexibility decreases with age. Financial shocks are harder to recover from. It's just a reality. So, Florida real estate is layered. Insurance risk, HOA reserves, migration demand, land lease structures. The point isn't fear. The point is clarity. If you don't own the land, you do not hold the strongest position before signing any land lease agreement in Florida. Read the lease yourself. Understand the escalation clause. Understand the renewal terms. Understand transfer restrictions. Model 10 years, model 15 years, model worst case insurance cycles. Retirement decisions require conservative modeling, not optimistic assumptions. Clarity protects capital, and capital buys flexibility. If this helped you think structurally instead of emotionally, subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you ever modeled total land rent over 15 years before buying? I'll see you in the next one.